you may well know, I have just got back from Ireland and I filled a whole travel journal sketchbook of my time in Ireland, and I'm here to show it to you, and I can't wait to show it to you. Let's go. Now this is a Stillman & Burn sketchbook of the Alpha series. Brown, soft cover, white pages, beautiful. I love it. I have spoken about it a lot in the last couple of videos, and I want to say a great big thank you to Stillman & Burn for sending this to me, and for also sending one to every single one of my travelers. So every one of my travelers got one of these, and I'm so grateful and I love it. And it survived all the way across Ireland and Scotland, and it's just amazing. I love painting in it. It's a multimedia sketchbook, so it did pretty well with inks and watercolors, and amazing with pens and pencil and Neocolor and all that sort of stuff. So yes, get yourself a Stillman & Burn sketchbook. This is the Alpha series. I love the Alpha series, but I've also been using the Beta series, and that is also amazing for thicker, more like crispy paper. So yeah, that's the sketchbook deets. Hope you like the sketchbook. I like brown, so I chose this sketchbook also because I like brown things. Anyway, here are some cute little stickers that I collected from my fellow travelers and just, across Ireland, including one of my own stickers which with the brand of the trip that I did. And you can see to the left there a sweet little laser cut birdie from Kim. This sketchbook has survived some chompings. A couple of my travelers had a little bit of a nom-nom on my sketchbook, and I treasure those little embossed TV pegs for the rest of my life. I think it's so cute and really ridiculous, and obviously tasty. So yeah, anyway, I was in Ireland for only 10 days. I was invited by Trover Trip to host a trip across Ireland where I would be teaching, showing, drawing with 15 people in their travel journal sketchbooks across Ireland, which is amazing. So this is my opening page. I have done a video about me working on the opening page and that sort of thing, so you should definitely look at that if you like that kind of thing. And I just liked filling it with lots of different things, including a photo of myself, because it's nice to look back in years to come and be like, oh yeah, that's what I looked like back then. Stickers. This is actually a big lino cut that I made for some merch that I made for my travelers. I made a pencil case and did a big lino print. I have a Patreon exclusive video of me making that as well, if you're a keen bean. But yeah, in general, my front page is just like testing of art supplies, patterns, some comfort zone kind of things, and I just tried to make it like an explosion of colour and fun to just make me feel excited about drawing in it every time I opened it. So this spread is a swatch page of all the things that I brought with me on my trips. And look, I probably did overpack, and there were definitely things in there that I didn't use. But I don't know, I found comfort in having slightly too many things than not enough things, I think. There were a few things I didn't use, like this brush pen over here. I didn't use that. I didn't really use this pencil. And I actually, surprisingly, didn't use very many Prismacolor pencils. The only time I used Prismacolor pencils was when I was sketching down like base drawing of things, so I really didn't need them. And unfortunately, I only used the Neocolor 2s for one painting. So if you watched me preparing my sketchbook, you saw that I spent ages breaking them all in half. And I really didn't need to, because I actually didn't even use them in a big way. Anyway, This page is just like a calendar, kind of a note to self, not that interesting. And this is kind of where it begins for real. So I wanted to start by making a little map of Ireland, and I wanted it to look a bit different. So I put some of my little 4-leaf clovers in and coloured it in and had fun with it. I used Tombow markers, and you'll see throughout this sketchbook, I used a ton of Tombow markers. Like, I was on a Tombow marker rampage. So this is our trip. Started in Dublin, and we travelled down and across Ring of Kerry up to Cliffs of Moher, Galway, and then a train back to Dublin, and that was over 7 days. And it was amazing. If you haven't seen the vlog, what are you doing? It is freaking adorable, star sparkle, heart gleams. You should definitely go and watch it. But yeah, so while I was in the aeroplane, I decided to do a few little drawings out the window, but I don't like flying. I'm really not a good flyer, and I get really nauseous and I get really anxious. So I only managed to do kind of this little page while I was in the aeroplane. This is the trip from Melbourne to Singapore, which is 8-hour flight. So that's what I managed to get done on my flight to Singapore, which I think is a good effort for someone who is very sick on aeroplanes and just hates it. And we had a 5-hour stopover, so we did some drawing, had some snackies, and I did draw this page on our stopover, carry-on luggage, and I just illustrated all the things that I had in my carry-on luggage, which I think is cute. Again, I didn't use all of them. I didn't actually use my squishy flower pillow at all for the whole trip. Just one of those things where I wanted it just in case, but I wish I didn't bring it because it was so huge. But anyway, this is a cute page, and I used a limited color palette. So this was actually all the colors of Tombow markers that I had taken with me on the aeroplane for my quick sketchy times while I was in transit, and I really like the color palette. I think it's really cute. When I started painting the backpack, I was using actually watercolor, and I splodged a big bit of water on it, so I just wiped it down and then just went with it. It's okay to do smudgy times. It's totally fine. That's what sketchbooks are for, right? And this is actually, we landed in London, so after a 14-hour trip, this is how I felt. Not good. I literally became a very sad little acorn for the whole trip. I got sick. So I took lots of very strong sleeping pill. Well, not lots, one sleeping pill. And I turned into an acorn and managed to sleep the whole way, which is very lucky for me. But it meant when we arrived in London, I was extremely groggy and stuff. So we landed, we found our little hotel room, and we went for a little walk to the Natural History Museum and sat out the front, and I drew this while I was kind of recovering from the buzziness of being sick in the aeroplane for nearly 24 hours. But it was so exciting to be in London. We arrived at 6 a.m. or something like that, so we couldn't just go straight to sleep. So we ended up kind of dragging ourselves out into the world and going for a little walk and getting a sandwich and a drinky and finding a nice place to sit, which is at the Natural History Museum, which is amazing, by the way. I wish we got to spend more time there. And yeah, I took a couple of photos along the way, like the alleyways and the archways and the beautiful building decorations. Amazing. So this spread is a spread that I did while we were sitting and enjoying our very brain fuzzy, foggy first day in London. I kind of just started with a comfort zone flower, nasturtium leaf, kind of mindless drawings, and then I did a fine line kind of hatch drawing of a wee moose, which was carved into the gate of the Natural History Museum. There were so many different animals, but I really liked the little, it's actually a squirrel, it's not a mouse, it's a squirrel. I thought it'd be cute to do a squirrel actually, because Lucy, who's one of my very best friends who I went with, who you'll see little snippets of, she's never seen a squirrel before, so I thought it'd be cute to do a little squirrel drawing. And here I am drawing at the Natural History Museum. It was a little bit drizzly and we found a little undercover spot to draw, and I don't know, we just put our headphones on and zoned out and brain fuzzed our way through a couple of pages of the sketchbook. So yeah, that's a Prismacolor drawing with the nasturtium leaves, which is probably one of the only pencil drawings I did on the whole trip. And this is a page which I drew after we had visited Waterstones bookshop. And Lucy sat down and did a little bit of reading while I was trying to survive some nausea moments, and I took a little photo of her and drew it when I got back to the little Airbnb using Tomo markers. And I was trying to find a way to kind of illustrate people around me in a really simple and like graphic, illustrative way. So I really like how this little drawing of Lucy turned out, because it kind of is exactly what I wanted it to be. This little pamphlet that I picked up, which I thought was cutely designed. I drew some tiles and just some mindless doodles of little abstract leaves. I really enjoyed this day, and I think this spread shows how much fun I was having. This was a day that Lucy and I started feeling like real humans. We actually only spent 2 full days in London, in Kensington actually. The flowers, we enjoyed the flowers, so we found this nice spot to sit and paint after running around and jumping around the gardens for a couple hours. We found this nice little nook to sit, and we did some painting for a couple hours, and I had a really nice time being extra loose and swooshy, and I made this little painting of just really blobby, blurry flowers. Like, so the first layer is just like laying down a bunch of really blobby, watercolory flower colors in the vague area where the flowers actually exists in the photo that I took. And then I just went in and did some negative space, carved out some shapes of flowers with some green, and I did a couple of layers of green as well. So I started with a fairly light or a medium kind of green, and then later I went over with a really dark green in some areas, not all areas. So I had a really good time doing this, and I think it worked out really nice. I really like this page. You'll see later I have made this illustration into a sticker, which I'm really excited to share with you, so keep your eyes peeled. Just a little later in the video I'm going to announce what that is and what it's for and stuff, and I hope you'll enjoy it. But yeah, such a cute little spot. We spent ages here, and we saw squirrels and bumblebees and just all the flowers, all the colours. It was a really perfect day. I really, really enjoyed that. And yeah, just lots of fun with colours and trying new things and trying to be more loose and more free, and being okay with wibbly wobbly lines and leaving blank spaces as well. Just like in this little one, I really like the direction of this little painting. I think it's cute. It reminds me of the feeling of 100s and thousands on butter. I don't know what that means, but that's how it feels. And I really like it. I really like to explore this style a little bit more, like leaving the blank space and stuff. And of course, an honorary squirrel up there, because Lucy had never seen squirrels before and we had to include one. This was another really beautiful part of the same day. Where we were, everything was very green, extremely green and mossy and old and delicious. So yeah, this was a little after the flower drawing session. So we had a little snacky and then went and explored some more and found this lovely spot where we sat down under the trees and got a little bit sunburnt actually, and then we just painted the trees in front of us for another hour or so and just had a lovely time. And it was really valuable actually to get started on my travel journal before the actual Ireland portion of the trip began, because it allowed me to like understand the way the paper works, and the way my paint reacts with the paper, and like how to battle the struggles and all that kind of stuff of starting a new sketchbook that you're not very familiar with. I did use this sketchbook a year ago when I went to Chile, but you know, there's been a lot of sketchbooks since then in my life, so it was nice to go back and had to reteach myself about all the quirks of this sketchbook. But in general, it was really easy to use, and my watercolor went on really nicely. I do tend to get really watery and really rough with my painting, so sketchbook held up really well. Really proud of it. Here's a little cartoon of myself, which followed me across the trip. I would draw it in everyone else's sketchbooks, which was really fun. And this, just look at this beautiful 4-leaf clover, which was a gift from Quinlan, who is one of my travelers. So cute, so perfect. She managed to find one for every single person on the trip, and that just blows my mind. And she laminated them and gave them to everyone, and so it lives on this page forever, and I just really like the composition of this spread. I think it's very nice. On our last day in London, met up with my friend Kat, who on Instagram is Catherine Do Art. She's a beautiful human. She's an amazing illustrator, very punny, very ridiculous, very gorgeous, and she is amazing at drawing from life, drawing people. She does it as a job. She does it for weddings and stuff. So it was nice getting together with her and painting together and drawing each other, but also a bit intimidating. So I kind of focused on making my drawing very lively and very movementy, and a lot of lines and a lot of sketchiness, because we were moving around a lot. We were having a lot of fun. There was a lot of energy. So I kind of wanted to try and make it look like that in my drawing, which I think maybe I did. I don't know how, but it kind of worked out for me. So yeah, it was really nice to see my old friend Kat in London. And this drawing here I actually went back and drew it in a couple of days after I actually drew the other picture with Kat. Drew this while we were on the ferry to Ireland, actually, so I was feeling a bit nauseous. And then a little photo. I like putting in little Polaroids every so often. It feels very fancy and cute. Bumblebees. There were so many bumblebees. Obsessed with bumblebees. We don't have them in Australia, at least in the mainland of Australia. There are some in Tasmania that were introduced, but they're very cute, and every time we saw bumblebees in the UK and in Ireland, we got so excited. Everyone else was like, yeah, whatever. Also, hydrangeas. Literally, the hydrangeas in the UK and Ireland are phenomenal. This little piece was a bit of an experiment, which I don't know if it really worked out for me or not, but it was fun. I just laid down a bunch of scribbly Tombow colours and then used the darker green one to do some line work over the top of it. And I like the concept, but it will be fun to work on a bit better. Here's some little swatches of some Tombow markers around. That belonged to my friend Lucy that I didn't have in my kit, so I swatched them here to remind me to get them later. As we were walking around Kensington, we were just enamored by the amazing buildings everywhere, so I took some photos of some cute ones that I really liked that caught my fancy, and I thought I'd give them a go. So I never really do architectural type stuff. I'm so like loose and scribbly, and I really like being just blobby and playful, so the thought of doing architectural stuff and proportioning and stuff is hard. It's not fun for me. Anyway, I used Art Graph, which is a graphite that you can use like watercolor. So you dip your paintbrush in water and then activates the Art Graph. It's really fun to use, and it kind of let me have that element of playful blobby wonkiness. I wasn't too hard on myself. Like, it's not architecturally correct or whatever it's called, perspective and stuff. Like, it's not, it's wobbly, it's janky. But I kind of let myself just be a bit wobbly, and I started from a point and drew outwards wise, and whatever happened. So I did 2 spreads. I tried 2 slightly different things. On the left, I painted in specific blocks of colour, like the door and a bit of the brick around the door frame. And on this one, on the right, I kind of pre-blobbinated with some swooshy, like orangey peach coloured watercolour, and then drew on the top with my paintbrush with the art graph. And I kind of like that one better because it has that element of looseness and scribbliness that I really like. That feels a lot more like me. I also really like the checker on the one on the left, the checkerboard tiles on the one on the left, but it's a little bit more stiff than what I like it to be. And yeah, using art graph, you do get a bit of the rubbings of it, and it does get a little bit messy from page to page. You can see here like all the smudginess around the edge. I didn't bring any fixative with me, so I had a piece of paper in between, but it still got a bit smudgy. So now that I'm home, I actually really need to fixative it. So the way I dealt with this while I was away is I just, I had this one piece of paper which I used as I furthered myself into the sketchbook to like protect the pages here and there, depending on what material I used. But because I used watercolor and Tombow markers more often than not, I didn't have much problem with smudging and stuff. I really like this spread. I like the next spread too, because I was challenging myself to strip back everything as much as possible. That month I did a scribble brigade on the same theme, so I was kind of in the zone of that, but I introduced more colours. In the scribble brigade I only used 2 colours or 3 colours, so in this challenge to myself I used multiple colours, but I wanted to condense all the shapes that I saw into the most basic shapes and colours. So it was a really good challenge, and I did find myself putting in more details, like creeping in on the details, and then I would like pull myself back again, and then I'd find myself getting more detail oriented again, and then I'd pull myself back again. So it was like definitely like heave ho, push and pull of like letting my brain not overthink things too much and that sort of thing. But yeah, I really like this colour palette. This is, again, the same colour palette that I used earlier on in the sketchbook for my airplane kit. So I kept it going while I was doing these little travel times as well. So yeah, I just took photos on the train on our way to Holyhead from London, and drew some on the train and drew some later when we got to Dublin. Yeah, I really like this. I really like all the electricity lines and the bridges, the power poles and stuff. I think they contrast really nicely with the really blobby natural shapes and the greens and stuff. I don't know, I really enjoyed adding a power line in. And then we arrived in Dublin. Found this nice sticker of this door, which is very similar to the one I drew a little earlier, from a little market stall in the Dublin main area, and stuck it in. And this spread, which doesn't really look like much, is like the first session I had sitting down with some of my travellers who had arrived. So everyone started arriving, went out to get a coffee, met a bunch of wolfhounds, which was one of the highlights of my trip, honestly. But yeah, we all got together and just I shared the sketchbooks with everyone, and everyone swapped and shared goodies. And then a bit later we did some drawing, and I stuck in some little stickers, and I swatched some of the paints and some of the art supply tools that were given out as gifts to everyone. This page doesn't look like much, but I really like it because it reminds me of the first day that we met everyone, and everyone was giving everyone gifts, and we were like gushing about art supplies, but we were still kind of shy and a bit scared of each other, and I don't know, just like fun feelings of things to come. I did do this tiny little pencil drawing of the Dublin city on the lake. I forget what it's called right now, but yeah, I think that's a nice little intro into Dublin, what it looks like. But yeah, so I don't usually use pencils very much, so it was nice to get scribbly with a pencil on a pre-blobbinated thing. So this was our first proper day. We did a walking tour, and the tour guide left us after a big tour. He left us in this really nice park, and the sun was shining. It was like the perfect Irish summer day, and we all just sat around, got a little bit sunburnt probably, and did some drawing together. It was our first like real big as a group drawing time, and I was a bit shy, and I think everyone was a bit shy, but I pushed myself and talked to everyone and had a look at everyone's sketchbooks and stuff. But yeah, this is what I drew. So I don't know, I see in these drawings like the hesitation, the fear of like beginning this massive journey that was about to take place. Yeah, there's a lot of, I don't know, fear. This is a piece that I really like, so I kind of came back from that. When I went to the hotel room that night by myself, I sat down and I painted this, which is from a photo that I took in Dublin a couple of days earlier before I met up with the group. We went to Phoenix Park and saw the deer, and that was beautiful and I loved it. So yeah, I painted this, and actually I did this kind of back to front. I started by sketching the deer in really finely, really softly with pencil. And then I did a bit of a green background, like I did everything except the deer, so a bit of negative space there. Painted it all in this mid-green, and then I went and layered the darker green on the top, which I did in a really textural way. I really love green texture. The watercolor that I used was quite gummy, so it was very like, yeah, I don't know, I just embraced the texture. Back in the day, I probably would have hated that and only wanted like flat colors. So yeah, I built up the layers, and then I eventually painted in the colors of the deer. And then over the very top, I did those like little light green sprigs across. And yeah, really quite happy with this piece. I think it's really nice. The actual photo you can see had more deer in the background, but I edited them out because that was too much to deal with. And I stuck with these two. And this is a painting that we did at the Rock of Cashel, which is the most incredible castle I've ever seen in my life. And I really enjoyed this. We were all, as a group, starting to get more comfortable with each other, like still very trepidatious, if that's a word, I don't know. But yeah, like more comfy, some little jokes were starting to form, which was nice. And we all sat down and painted together. Again, this Irish summer, it had our backs. It was there for us. It showed up every day, and we are so grateful for it. But yeah, I really enjoyed painting this, and I tried a style that was a lot more like short, quick brush strokes rather than filling in big gaps all at once sort of thing. And I'd never really drawn or painted buildings, castles before. Like, I don't know, is that grey? Is it brown? Is it purple? Is it blue? I don't know what colour that building is. So I experimented with how to find a nice way to paint the building while making it also look organic and like my hand painted it. So this is what I did, and I quite like it. There's like grey versions of the colours that I usually do, and they're just like layered and piled on top, and it kind of gives the illusion that it's a really old, mossy, decrepit, falling apart, ancient building. So I was quite proud of myself for that. And I finished my painting while other people were still drawing or painting. I did this semi-blind one-line drawing at the bottom of the similar view, sort of more looking at the church, at the castle. And that was fun. I just like played with that, and all the little gravestones look really cute. And I went back and I did a couple of little birdies and stuck in a flower that I found that day. Don't tell customs, but there's a flower. But yeah, no, I'm really proud of how the castle turned out actually. So on the next page, you'll see I wanted to try that again, but in an even looser way. So actually there was not much time at the end of it. So this is a different spot around the castle looking out onto this other little building. And yeah, there was not much time. We had to be back at our bus at a certain amount of time. So I had to really quickly just like throw down colours. So you can see it's really patchy, but in a good way. I like it. I'm just playing with being really loose and kind of flat, but textural. I don't know if that makes any sense. But that's what's been going on in my brain. And that's what I enjoyed doing here. This other page I don't really like, so I don't know, skip past And this is a fun little page as well. In the afternoon, at our little hotel, we commandeered one of the spaces and all drew together, and I kind of put together this semi-collage with this little map that I had picked up along the way, and a couple of Polaroids of the group, and a Polaroid of Nadia smelling some flowers, which was, I thought, a very cute photo. And yeah, just some swatching, some patterns, a pigeon, a window. Yeah. This was a nice time. This spread gives me good memories. It was the first little demo that I did for the group, and we did it outside, plein air, and it was basically me talking through my thoughts and actions, why I chose this, why I chose that, how I go about this shape and that shape and whatnot. And it was really nice getting together as a group and trying to articulate why I do things, because I work very intuitively, so it was quite difficult for me to really talk about what I was doing. So it was nice to be able to show and tell at the same time. And people asked questions, and it was really nice. But it started raining, and you can see the rain texture. I could have gone back and repainted it and painted more, or tried to disguise the raindrops, but I kind of just want to leave it as it is, as its own little memory, even though it got a little bit ruined by the rain. I kind of really love that. I love the wildness of this little painting, even though it's not technically finished. We ended before I got to finish my little demo. I would have definitely built up more depth to it, but I just left it and I really like it. And just some little fine liner drawings that based on the photos I took while we were in the bus, because you know me, I get nauseous even when I stand up, so I had to take photos while we were in the bus to draw later because I couldn't draw in the bus. But yeah, this is a nice page. I really like this little page. Gives me good feels. This is a page we did while we were at the Cliffs of Moher. I don't know, I was feeling very zoomy. I had the zoomies that day, so I found it really hard to concentrate and draw. I was just having a good time with the people around me. It was really nice, really jolly vibes. So I don't think it's my best work just because I wasn't concentrating at all, but it's a nice feeling. It's a nice day. It's fresh and crispy. So again, we had the best weather possible. And I did this little Tombow marker drawing. You can see here I did a bit of a base sketch using the really, really, really light purple. And then I just went in slowly and added little bits of color and stuff, trying to figure out, again, how to draw rocks with Tombow markers. I feel like I kind of got it with the watercolor paint, but I wanted to try it with the Tombow markers, and I don't think I was as successful with this drawing rock faces with the Tombow markers, but it's something. It's okay. I drew this with a bunch of my pals in Galway, at the pier in Galway. It was another really lovely day. All the days were so lovely. I can't deal with how lovely it was. But these are a couple of semi-blind one-line drawing. So basically, a one-line blind contour drawing is where you are only looking at your reference. You're only looking at the landscape in front of you, and you are not looking at your piece of paper. So I don't like lifting my pen off the paper. I just look at the view in front of me and go one line. I did this semi-blind, which meant I looked back down every so often, but not too much, because I like the element of wonkiness that one-line blind contour drawings give me. This is definitely a style I recommend to anyone who is wanting to loosen up and have a bit of fun and laugh at themselves. I love doing them. This is a fun little page, a bit like higgledy-piggledy, some swatching there. This little one I drew while we were at a little traffic jam. There was 5 or 10 minute traffic jam, and after about 5 minutes I was like, why aren't I drawing? So and I turned around and a couple other people in the bus were drawing. So we all ended up drawing the little landscape while we were stuck in the traffic jam. It was perfect. And down here is my one and only Neocolor 2 painting. What I did was I had a little plastic container that I kept the Neocolor 2s in, and I would scribble on the plastic container, and then with my water brush I would wet the scribbled on bit and pick up the Neocolor 2 and use it like watercolor. Again, this was one of my favorite moments at Connemara National Park. I put everyone into a big group and played this drawing game, which resulted in every single person having an original artwork by 15 people in their sketchbook. So basically what you do is you find a location, you have your sketchbook, we set a 2-minute timer, and you draw a piece of the landscape in front of you, and then hand it to the next person after 2 minutes, and then they continue the landscape, and then hand it on to the next person and continue the landscape until it gets around to all 15 of us. So yeah, it just meant at the end of it we all had, you know, a collaborative piece in our sketchbook, and everyone drew in everyone's book, and it was just a really nice way to join forces and be like collaborative and be a bit silly and have like this unexpected element to it. Like, who knows what materials you're going to end up with in your sketchbook or what styles you're going to end up with. And yeah, it was really cool seeing them all in a pile, and also seeing who would gravitate to what area of the landscape and who would gravitate to another area of the landscape. Like, it was just a really fun experiment, I guess, and just like, I don't know, a little bonding exercise. But I highly recommend it if you're in a group of people. Try one of these collaborative landscapes. It was so fun. This one was from another little demo that I did on plein air with the group. We were having a bit of a tired day. We did a lot of walking and like mini hike and stuff like that. So our bus driver took us to this beautiful location and where we all sat and painted for a while. And again, like some people kind of hovered over my shoulders and sat around me while I talked about how I approach this landscape and why I do certain things and how I do different mark making and how I use the watercolor in this way or the other. And it was a really nice chill session. Some people went off and like painted in their own little area, and some people didn't paint at all. They just wandered around. But yeah, it was nice to take our shoes off, sit down in a field somewhere and paint an amazing view of this loch in front of us, and yeah, challenge ourselves. And I feel like we all kind of learnt a lot, and it was nice to be able to share my skills and share my 35 years worth of experience of drawing and painting and experimenting and playing, and yeah, handing that off to other people and see if they can learn from it and stuff. And of course I learnt from a lot of those guys as well. Like, there was some ways that the others would paint and draw and approach things that I was like, oh, how do you do that? And it was really nice to swap and share skills and like expand all of our libraries of mark making and knowledge and colors and creating shapes and positive and negative space and stuff. I really like this spread. This gives me good feelings. These are a couple of cuties that we met along our way on one of our days. Just a little Pomeranian mix dog on a small donkey. And they're there all the time. This was, I think it was on our Ring of Kerry day. We stopped and saw them, and I took lots of photos and had to paint them. So I did this in a similar way to the way I painted the deer earlier, where I did a very faint sketch of the animals and then painted in the background first and like layered that up, and then went in and painted the animals last. I don't know why I do this. I just, for fun, just for some giggles, but I really like how it turned out. And then this one over here, the flowers, was another little live demo I did back at the hotel in the common space that we commandeered. Whoever was there kind of watched me along as I showed people how to build up layers of flowers, where we started with really loose, blobby colours of flowers and then built up layers of green and kept it really loose, negative spacey, positive spacey. it was really fun. Like, everyone was asking me how to do it, so it was really cool to be able to show them. Yeah, it was nice seeing everyone try it themselves as well. It made me feel good. I did these drawings on the train from Galway back to Dublin, so it was a good feeling. It was exciting because my name was on the train signage by the seats, which was very exciting. But these are some photos I had taken at Muckross House and had drawn them using my Tombow markers. I really like this greenhouse and used a bit of abstract negative space inside the window panes. And then there's a landscape that was taken from the bus window by Kayla, and so I really liked the composition of the photo with the fields and the stripes of the fields and the layers of the mountains. So she let me use her photograph as a reference. And I also really like taking note of what Tombow markers I use, because as I'm doing the landscape, sometimes I just like pick up so many different Tombows and throw them down, and I want to find a certain color that I used over here. So the fact that I've written them down makes me be able to remember or to reference the colors that I used earlier and use them again and not get a weird random new color appear. So it's handy and aesthetically pleasing. This is a bit of a strange page. I don't know, it's got a lot of fun and energy. Like, there's again a lot of swatching. We all swatched each other's art supplies. Like, we had fun trying other people's art supplies. Well, I did, at least. So there's me swatching a bunch of pens from Constance, and a window with this beautiful red, and another landscape here where I just tried to be a bit more loose and leave white spaces, but like build up an extreme amount of daisies and wildflowers in a field. There are so many wildflowers in Ireland. It's amazing. In Australia, we can't have like too many bushy things because of, especially in summer, because of fires and like animals and stuff, snakes. Not so much like in the suburbs, but further out in the country. So it's nice to see a plethora of wildflowers everywhere. This is a little brush pen drawing of Jack in the St. Bridget's well, touching the water, just being an all-round cutie. And this is one of the little foals that we saw when we were at Connemara National Park. This little guy was so cute. He was playing with the rubbish bin for a while and just like rolling around on the ground. So I kind of combined some watercolour and the art graph there. And yeah, a little bit of St. Bridget's well paraphernalia stuff, I guess. And this, I took a photo of this castle from the bus on our way into Galway, I'm pretty sure it was. So I took a photo from the bus, and the good thing about iPhones is it tells you the location of where you took the photo. So I was able to track down what castle it was, and I gave that a bit of a paint using watercolors and a little bit of gouache. Just layering, again, like trying to figure out how to paint buildings and castles, and I kind of did it in a less loose way than the previous, like the Rock of Cashel castle, and I think it's okay. I think you can tell that there was some nice golden light shining onto the castle. It was golden hour when we drove past it, but yeah, just challenging myself to try to do something that I'm not usually comfortable with. So I'm really proud of actually how it turned out, and I'm proud of myself for giving it a go. Like, I would maybe do things a little bit differently next time. And the different elements of the castle have different colours going on, and maybe they don't match properly, but I really like how it turned out, and I actually don't mind that it's not very matchy-matchy. Like, I'm not precious about that sort of thing. Down here is just like another little drawing of the Cliffs of Moher, where I did a loose blob down of colours using watercolours in the vague spots where the cliffs were, so I used a photo as a reference. And then I went back after that had dried and used a nice thick fine liner by Edding 1880. And I really like that pen. I think that was one of my favourite purchases when I was in Ireland. And I like how it turned out, really simple. I tried to keep it really graphic and illustrative, which was nice. Because when you're going on plein air, I sort of tend to ease more towards like a more realistic look, I suppose. Even though I have very illustrative elements throughout my landscapes, they are more like proportionate and stuff, I guess. So it was nice to do something a bit more graphic and cartoony. And yeah, I like the pile of swatches in the corner as well. I think that's really satisfying. And this page, I used some hot pink watercolor paint that Constance gifted to everyone, and I mixed it with a bunch of my other watercolors just to see how it reacts with all my other colors, just to make as many pinks as possible. And then I drew on the top of it a little picture of Lucy at Ross Castle earlier in the trip, just looking out onto the view, and I thought it was like a really nice moment that I wanted to capture. And I used a mixture of art graph and an aquarelle pencil, which you can do the same thing with. It's just like a watercolor pencil, but it's graphite. Just as a bit of an experimentation. I feel like it gets a little lost on the page of pink blobbies, but I don't know, it's kind of nice being able to go up really close and be like, oh, what's actually going on in there, and having a closer look. And yeah, I really like how the castle turned out. It's kind of swooshy. It's got some like little rock details and stuff like that. So, and it's still very scribbly, and yeah, I don't know, it's kind of cute. And on the other side, there's a drawing of Puck, the Puck statue at a small village, and there's like a festival all around Puck. You should Google it because it's very interesting. Very interesting. So I had to draw him. There's some swatching of some art supplies that I purchased, and down here are a bunch of horse brasses, which they use on as decorative features on like their saddles or the bridles or whatever they're called. There's one on the donkey. So at the same day where we saw the donkey and the dog, they had a little table out with all these different horse brasses on the table. So I took a couple little photos and I drew them here in my sketchbook a couple of days later using a really fine liner. It's a high-tech C Pilot fine liner. Love them. I use them all the time. This is a fun page, lots of energy. Hydrangeas. Again, I had to try and draw hydrangeas. So they're just a mass of incredible detail. Hydrangeas, like just full of flowers. So I was just trying to come up with a really loose, almost lazy way of painting them. So I did it in a similar way to the flower garden I did earlier in the sketchbook, and just laid down blobs and then layered over with some greens and cut in and did some negative space. And over on the right here are more little abstract flowers on that nice rag paper, which I really loved, and I stuck them in. And I used some gold watercolor paint, which Nadia gifted to us all, and you can kind of see it shimmer in the light a little bit there, but it's really pretty. I like it. And this is a field I did using Tombow markers. And I did this quite late at night. I was a bit tired and kind of, not in the mood to do anything too correct, too accurate. So I was really scribbly with that one, and I had fun. This is a cute page. Love the colors of this page. The mixture of like those limey, mossy greens, and then that hint of purpley pink down here. I think that's really nice. So this is a view from the Ross Castle where there were swans in the water, and there was a boat, and there was just like a cute little island. So what I did here is I layered some Tombow markers, and I went in with my really fine liner and did some little sketchies over the top of it, and just layered up some colors, layered up some cross hatchings, and I really like how it looks. This one was taken from a photo I took on the side of the road, and again I looked up what it was later when I got home, and yeah, had to draw it. And here this painting is a mixture of watercolor, and there's a little bit of gouache in my watercolor set as well, so there's some gouache in there. And then so I did this like basically in the dark, and when I woke up in the morning it was all very same tonal value. So I went in later with some of my darker Tombow markers, like the dark green, and I just like darkened up a few little spots to make other things pop and just give it a bit of contrast, I guess. So, and I had never tried using Tombow markers over the top of watercolor markers, and it worked pretty good. It made my Tombow marker a little bit dirty, but that's okay. I like doing a bit of multimedia stuff like that. And this is a really fun page. I did this towards the end of our trip actually, and I was feeling a bit nostalgic, and I was like, oh, we had such a lovely day, in the Connemara National Park, or Moles Gap I think it is, and I just wanted to do something really textural and layered and kind of dreamy feeling. So I used a lot of water in the base layers of this watercolor painting, and then just like built up layers on top of it and did some dry brushing stuff as well. So you can see some really juicy textural textures down the bottom there, particularly with that mustard color and that mossy green. There's some really good dry brushy textures there. And yeah, I just let watercolor be watercolor. My watercolors were kind of like, I don't know, like gummy. I don't know, something was up with some of the watercolor, so they weren't mixed properly, but I kind of just leaned into the gumminess of some of the colors. And there's a tiny little house there, and down the bottom is all my swatches, which I find so fascinating. I love swatching my paintings as I do them. It's like a little color story of the painting. And I really like this page as well. At the top, I just did some fun little graphic color palette thing. And then down here is another little landscape. And there's, lucky for you, a video of me painting and drawing it. I documented the whole process because I was having such a good time. And yeah, as you can see here, the only time I really use my Prismacolor pencils is to very vaguely sketch in the landscape that I'm drawing. And I just went in with my weirdly gummy watercolors. Only a couple of the colors were gummy, but whatever, kind of like it. And just really like blocked in a bunch of blobby colors and shapes. You can see here in the bottom left, the yellow flowers. I did it like a big yellow blob, and then I went in with some negative space and like cut in and chiseled it away and this and that. And that's basically how I go about doing paintings like this. Is I start blurry and out of focus, and then I just like add in layer by layer by layer and like, yeah, sort of sharpen it up and focus it up and contrast it up. And it's like an analog camera going from blurry to going into focus. So yeah. And I like using strange colors in the layers as well, because sometimes your underlayers like pick up in your top layers, and it kind of brings a nice little glow or a nice little feeling about it. So you can see that I used quite a bit of pink in the mountains in the back there, and even though the mountains weren't pink, I just feel like it adds a nice little like swish of something. You know what I mean? But I really like this page. I really like this little landscape, a little sneak peek of the landscape. The photo that I used for reference was actually more zoomed out, so I just chose a little portion of the photo and went for that. Here's another little watercolor painting, which I really like. I experimented with painting the yellow fields in really flatly. I mean, there's texture within the flatness of it. And then just drawing over with my paintbrush the field lines and letting them just be squiggly and messy. And if you look up close, they're quite messy. But I really like that, and just letting the paintbrush do its thing. Some little doodles of some of the flowers and stuff we saw, and yeah, just like little patterns and stuff. And there's a little photo of me. I really like putting my feet in bodies of water, so it's a photo of me putting my feet in a body of water. I do it a lot. You see it in the vlog. Yeah, so this next page, I really like this page. On the left side, I had a really good time doing like the frame with the birds. I mean, there's always birds and like little birdie weddings, so I wanted to talk about the birds a little bit. So there they are there. And let me just use this as a little moment to share something exciting with you. So this is going to be this month's Patreon reward, this little page here. And let me show them to you. Here they are. There's a double-sided mini print featuring this artwork, which I really love. And on the back is kind of like a little scrapbook of a bunch of other little pieces that I really enjoyed throughout this sketchbook. And the little sticker is also really cute. That one features a bit of the birds and the flower garden stuff at the beginning of the sketchbook. It's so vibrant, like the colors came out really, really good. And I'm really excited to share that with you. So if you sign up within this month to the Orange Bird tier, you'll get those goodies in the mail in the next month. And over on this side is a lovely page of Kayla and Quinlan enjoying the waterfall, the freshness, the Irish summer. The sunbeams were glowing. and I was experimenting with how the heck does water look? How does waterfalls look? So I was like playing with layering of whites and like teals and stuff, and same with rocks and the lichens on the rocks, and yeah, had a good time. And there's a little sketch of them up there, which I did before I committed to painting them in later. Yeah, I don't know, I think this page is really satisfying. Then over here, I am up the top left, I'm trying to work out again how to effectively, quickly, in a loose way, paint castles. So I did a watercolor wash, and then I went over with some Prismacolor pencils. Oh look, the Prismacolor pencils make an appearance finally. Yeah, and just trying to layer it, and I don't know if it's successful, but it's kind of fun and loose and scribbly, and I kind of like using pink in castles. And yeah, some other little doodles down and around, and I of course had to paint some of the what are they even called, decorations. I used Tombow marker and one of these fine liners that I've been mentioning throughout. Freaking love this pen, it's so good. But yeah, there are so many beautiful carved details around Dublin and the other towns across Ireland, and I took a couple of photos of them. These are from Dublin. And yeah, drew them all in and had fun with my cross-hatching and shapes and faces, and yeah, I really like every so often just throwing in a little bit of cross-hatchy realism kind of stuff in amongst all the more loose, illustrative, scribbly landscapes. I think the contrast of the different ways of drawing, the different techniques, is really interesting. It keeps me interested. I like when my brain can jump around a little bit. This page is another page of like sketches from either bus photos or train photos, and I used a very limited color palette. I used 3 colors, and I layered them in different ways to create different colors, and yeah, just like made sure I was really graphic and really simple with the landscapes, and I think it made a really satisfying, quite dreamy little page. This is something I've been doing with my Scribble Brigaders for the last month or two, and yeah, it's just, I'm a little bit addicted to doing it. It's very addictive. And on this side, I like this little painting a lot. This one is actually included in the Patreon rewards. It's on the back. But yeah, it's just like a cute little house, cute little guy. I think that was during the Connemara drive. I used this reference photo, and I really like how the mountain is just like a blurry watercolory blob, and then the little trees are just little blobs on top of that, and there's not much definition, and it's loose and playful and quick, and I don't know, the contrast is nice. I like it. This is a painting I did when I was feeling very tired. I think I did this the day after I got back from the UK and Ireland, and I was tired, I was drained, and I'd sort of half-assed it, and then I was like, oh, I don't like it. So I added these water lines, and then I was instantly like, yes, this is working out, and I added the tree lines, which is something I do. These little tree lines I've done for a long time over the last couple of years in my landscapes. So it was nice to like reel myself back into like my more illustration stuff, like combining illustration and an actual landscape, and playing and yeah, like joining forces with those two styles. And I actually, I was starting this painting and I hated its guts, and it actually turned out to be one of my favorite sketches in my sketchbook. And I think it's, yeah, really interesting, and I love the way the water was drawn. It's like crystal clear water with the shadows and then like little watery lines on the top. I don't know, just think it's good. It's good when you just do stuff kind of mindlessly and then follow your intuition, follow your bones, and see what happens. And yeah, a little patchwork quilty thing on the side there, which kind of makes it feel even cozier to me. Yeah, and I also like the scribble in the sky. Yeah, good page, like it. This one has a nice color palette. This one makes me feel like golden hour. Yeah, this page color palette, I think it turned out really nice and satisfying. While I was doing it, I was like, what am I doing? I don't know why this is happening. but I just leaned into the pinks and the purples and this like yellowy mustard and just went with it, and it ended up kind of pulling itself all together. Sometimes you just have to pass through that weird, awkward phase. And yeah, like I said before, trust your bones. Bones are very good at telling you what to do. And over here, just some like couple little sheeps in a field of heathers and other little flowers and stuff like that. And yeah, I just wanted to go really loose and playful and illustrative, kind of like jumping off the back of the painting on the last page, and just being really graphic. My little favourite little puppies, very cute. I liked the colour of the photos and it works well with the spread, so yeah. Another big landscape where I just let watercolour be watercolour. I let there be lots of little blurry stuff, like I painted some of the trees and details before the background had fully dried, so they kind of like spider-leggied out a little bit, and I upped the saturation a little bit in certain areas, like the pink. It's actually kind of like dried grass, but I kind of pushed it and added pink to make it a bit more like juicy and illustrative. And yeah, again, lots of layering, lots of building up spaces and colors and shapes and cutting in and positive space and negative space stuff. And I really like how the background mountains look. It looks like the sun is kissing the tip of the mountains over there. And, you know, it's kind of these layers you do, these happy accidents, these things that you don't mean for them to happen. They just turn into really nice things sometimes. So yeah, that's what I really like doing. I really like happy accidents, being able to help me make up some real nice stuff. I don't know what I'm saying, but yeah, letting watercolor be watercolor, and just like letting your bones do the talking, if you know what I mean, just your intuition. This is another page of limited color palette sketches, kind of graphic. I was sort of doing a bit more graphic novel vibe stuff, greens on one side and pinks on the other side, and I think I chose better contrasting colors on the pink side. On the green side, my greens weren't dark enough, so they all kind of blur in a little bit, but I quite like them still. They kind of have 70s bad print quality color, band postery, Risso print vibe. I don't know. And I thought on the very last page it would be apt to make a little self-portrait, kind of depicting the way I felt on my trip, the way I felt after my trip, the serenity. I just wanted to paint myself as a wild field of wildflowers in Ireland. So I've got my little just daisies and heathers and just green field hair and spots and sun and everything all over my face. And I think it was a really nice way to finish my Ireland sketchbook with a little self-portrait, because I do love doing self-portraits and it feels weird to not include one in a sketchbook these days. So yeah, I had to do that. So that's a watercolor self-portrait. I don't know, I really like it. Makes me feel the feels. And this is the very last spread, so a tiny little love letter to Ireland just there, in a really playful watercolory way. I had like all this wet watercolor paint in my palette after I'd done my self-portrait, so I just played with big splodginess over there. And just like a final thoughts thing on the last page. You can pause the video and read it if you like. I read it out in my vlog in the last video, so you can go back and listen to it if you like. But there's my Ireland sketchbook, all chunky, all filled. It was a pleasure to show this sketchbook to you. So thanks for being here, thanks for watching, and a great big thank you to my travellers who joined me, and to Trover Trip for making it happen, and an extra special thank you to Stillman and Byrne for providing the sketchbooks. They're amazing. And also to my patrons. I love you with all my heart. Yeah, good. All right. Okay, bye.